if there are any questions, please just add them into the chat box. But what I want to do is I just want to very quickly, because obviously we had the earnings yesterday. Helps if I could spell it. There we are. Right. Okay. Right. And as somebody put on my timeline yesterday, everyone got slaughtered. If we look at the 5-minute chart, where is it? There we are. That's the hourly chart. Yesterday at the earnings, there. That candle there, that was earnings. So if you were just doing a directional on options, whether a call or a put, everyone got wiped out yesterday, which was really mean, really, really mean. Right. Weekly. Very, very, very interesting. The context to this is what I put up on my Twitter X. When was it? The 13th of November. And this is the weekly chart. And this was the previous week. We saw lots of volume going in there. But we see this price action stalling. Again, we have this sideways movement in Nvidia. And this was the really big earnings where there was a lot of we have this deep wick to the top of this candle with huge volume underneath it. Didn't really fall very far. A lot of it was actually profit taking because it actually hit $500. You have to put this move in context. This has been a phenomenal move for the stock. And the question is, as I said here, what we have to decide, this has been building since July, is this actually a distribution because it is an all-time high? And it has a lot of the characteristics of distribution in as much we've got volatility, got a ton of volume, and the price really not going anywhere. It's had a sort of minor break lower on a couple of occasions, but it's quickly gone back into the sideways, the consolidation. And it's one of those, again, where you just have to be patient. I thought maybe earnings on the 21st would certainly help to determine, and there was a brief peak over it when we look at the chart, but it's kind of gone back here. If this distribution pattern, if you like, doesn't play out, then what we have is we will have a phenomenally strong platform of support. Looking at my Twitter feed, from other traders who follow this very, very closely, I wouldn't say there's consensus, but the jury's out as to whether this is actually going to move higher. And in fact, we are looking at some sort of serious a reversal. I mean, AI generally, and I said this in a couple of podcasts. My view and David's view as well is this is the future. Whether it's going to be Nvidia, whether it's a company that's still in an embryonic company, but we may be looking at something that was similar to we saw in 2000, where that it was the dot-com boom. It was fantastically successful. It drew money in, and the Nasdaq went up and up and up and up, and then there was a bust. But that didn't invalidate the internet, and it didn't invalidate some of the companies that did actually survive. And I think we may be seeing something like that. There's been the AI has just been such a bubble. Everyone has piled in, but it kind of needs a bust, and then it will take off. And we're talking maybe a year or so. I don't think it's going to be sooner than the middle of next year. So in the meantime, a lot of companies that have ridden the coattails of the interest in AI, we may find that they will be in a similar situation as the companies were in the dot-com boom. Now, the question is Nvidia going to be one of those? It is such a solid company. It's had a bit of ups and downs. It could be. It's like everything else. They have this chip that everybody wants, but other companies may lose that competitive edge. It's partly why they have been doing so well. And the key is going to be what we're seeing developing on the weekly on the weekly chart, and we have to place that in the context of the seasonality. The classic end of year rally, and then we have the Santa rally, and then we go into the new year. Is that going to happen? We'll see what the Fed does at their last meeting. For that, we then go and look at the bond market. We'll say, well, what's the bond market saying? Let's go and see. Let's go and look at yields. And ultimately, it's the bond market that's going to determine what happens. This is the 2-year yield. And this too is quite an interesting point. This is on the daily chart. There's a big 2-year bond auction coming up, I think, on the 27th of November. If this falls significantly, initially it's going to be very good for stocks. But if bond yields start to fall, it could also signal that the economy is not doing so great. So it's always a double-edged sword with bonds. It can give you sometimes two contradictory messages. But for Nvidia, if Nvidia is one of your stocks, I would keep a very close eye on the weekly. And what tends to happen classically is you may get a breakout. You then, if it's going to go higher, you will certainly get a retest, and then it will take off. Similarly to the bottom, if it's going to break lower, it will break lower. It will possibly retest, or not quite retest. It won't actually test it. But so that's the thing to keep an eye on, whether it actually comes back to very, very close to those resistance and support levels. And if it's to the downside, you'll find it will break, then try to regain, and then it will fall. And it will fall quite precipitously. And we're talking about the low volume and high volume node areas. Where is it going to fall? This is the area we're talking about. We're certainly talking about at least 318. And where is the volume point of control? My goodness, it's all the way down here to 168. But certainly this is the area that we would be looking at for any move to the downside. For a move to the upside, this is where you would possibly have a look, so using something like a Fibonacci extension. The market does respond to levels. And I came up with a view about the market. Markets can be chaotic, but they can also be quite logical, quite structured and quite formal, and they do respond to numbers and to levels. And, you'd be looking at something like, 550, 600. So lots to look forward to with Nvidia. I'm going to stop there, see if there's any questions, and I'm going to pass you back to David. Over.
Wonderful. Anna says she can see my screens. That's great. I'm just going to move the chat box out of the way. I'm staying with Disney and gone back to, Anna's been on the slower time frames. I've gone back to the faster time frames, different workspace. Just wanted to show you something else which relates back to what I was saying earlier. What we're looking at here is Disney on 1, 3, and 5 minutes on the top line and on the bottom line. So the charts are identical above and below. What's different is that on the charts below, the bottom 3 charts, I've literally got price and volume. The 3 charts at the top have got one of the new indicators we released a few weeks ago for Ninja and also for TradingView, and that's the volume relative strength indicator. I'm not going to go in great detail about it, but essentially it's a sister indicator, if you will, to volume price analysis, because what the VRSI does is that it looks at the relative strength of volume. In other words, what is the relative nature of volume coming into a trend? And in that, you can check out the videos on which will be go. They're up actually online at the moment on quantum trading. If you're interested in this particular indicator, and I have to say it's been very well received, is that the we talk a lot about pressure. And if I pop open the 5-minute time frame here, what the indicator does is it gives a sense of the pressure that is going into a trend, and therefore, in a very similar way to the way we look at volume and a trend, we want to see rising volume and a rising trend, or falling trend and rising volume, because it takes effort to go down in the same way it does to go up. The volume relative strength indicator, we look at it in a very similar way, where we're looking at pressure. We are looking at what is the pressure that is coming into this trend. Is there strong pressure? Is there good pressure? And how is that related to the price action? So here, the darker bars are signaling very strong pressure, and the lighter colored bars are a weakening in pressure. And also, what's key here is the height on the. If you watch the videos on the quantum trading site, what we talk a lot about is the height. In other words, how strong is that pressure? Yes, we've got a change in pressure, and of course, we've got a change from bearish on this fulcrum line, bullish on this fulcrum line, then we go down into bearish over here. So there's two key aspects: the color, the strength, and the height. But what I wanted really to talk about here very quickly as we come to sort of wrap up is that what we were looking at earlier was this area of price action here on the 10-minute time frame. This is on 5-minute. But what you also see here is you see pressure going in on this candle, absolutely fine. That looks okay. We've got a nice widespread candle and a ton of pressure coming in there. But then you get half the spread of candle, and you've got slightly more pressure going into it. So what is that telling you? It's like, I'm trying to think of an analogy, but I'm sure you can think of some yourself, where you've got a lot of pressure going in, and the price action is not reflecting that. This, in a way, is very similar to the cause and effect of Wyckoff and volume and price not being in agreement. In other words, we've got something anomalous here. This is akin to the analogy that I've used many times before of you're driving you're on a slippery mountain slope. You're driving uphill, not necessarily a 4x4, but you're driving uphill. And as the inclination increases, the gradient increases and steepens, you're having to put more effort into the gas, into the accelerator, and you're slowing down all the time because the wheels are starting to spin, you're losing traction, you're putting more and more effort in, but you're not actually moving forward as much as you should be because you're sliding. The wheels can't find any grip. And it's a very similar analogy here. There's a lot of pressure going in there, but the price action does not reflect that pressure. And this is the area we looked at where we saw that weakness really confirmed. You've got shooting star candles here, you've got more weakness here, and we're into the congestion phase, and then we come down into this bearish phase we're in at the moment, and congestion as we come to the end of the session. But I wanted to show you this because it really does. It's not a mirror image of VPA, but it's a peeling back the layers of VPA, where we're now looking not just at the straightforward relationship, if you will, of volume and price. We're looking at the relationship between that volume across it. We're looking at the volume relative to one another. So it's one of 3 volume indicators that we've rolled out in the last few weeks. This is on NinjaTrader, but it's also on TradingView as well. As I say, you'll find all the details over at Quantum Trading, and I did a ton of videos on it across all time frames, different markets, and all the rest of it. So you'll see it all in action. But you'll see here the pressure that went in, and then, of course, as we move into this congestion phase, look how quickly it drops away, right the way down to nothing. And then we go into this bearish phase. And the interesting thing with this bearish phase, which kind of mirrors what I was saying about moving down to the VPOT, where we didn't really have much of a headroom for the trend to develop, the height of these bars is quite low. It's nothing like over here. So this is really telling us that, yeah, okay, we've got a bearish trend developing, and whilst we've got some strength coming in here, the height of these bars is relatively low, and therefore it's certainly not going to represent a very strong trend. Yes, it's a trend, but it's not one that looks as though it's going to develop into what we would see as a price waterfall. If we saw a nice price waterfall with this height of bar on, the market would really be collapsing out of sight down here. And it's not. It's just a gentle decline, and down we come. And now we're flattening off, and we're just going to oscillate around here for the rest of the session, I suspect. So I just wanted to show you that before we wrap up. And very quickly, one other thing. Let me ask you a question. What's the candle and what's the volume that catches your eye on this 5 minute at the bottom here? Well, instantly your eye is drawn to this one. Why? Because it stands out above the rest, the same as these two over here. It's an oddity. You've been coming down here with this sort of level of volume here, and then suddenly you get a big volume spike. Is it anomalous? Of course it's anomalous, because if it wasn't, the price action would be down here, and it isn't. It's narrow. So you've got high volume on a narrow spread. What's that telling you? It's telling you there's some buying coming into the market. Maybe not a great deal amount of buying, but certainly some buying. So there's enough to come into that point there. If you were short the market here, at the very least, it would set a warning flag, and you'd be thinking, well, okay, maybe I'm expecting a bit of a pause here, maybe a bit of congestion, possibly a rally. I've got to keep my wits about me. And that's what it's telling you. It's telling you at the live edge. Imagine none of this is here. As soon as you see that candle there, that's anomalous. And therefore, in that anomaly, you've got to decide what is going on. Well, clearly, there's a bit of buying coming in there. What do we see? We get a 2-bar rally on what? Falling volume. What does that tell you? It tells you it's not going very far, because the volume under that candle is less than this one. That's ridiculous. So it's not going very far. We get a little 2-bar reversal, come back down again. Appreciate this is, pretty tight spread action, but the principles that you're looking at here are very, very much the same. It really doesn't matter where you look at this or what the instrument is or what the market is. The principles of volume price analysis are identical. And the other nice thing about this little reversal here, we've got the opposite. So we get a falling market on falling volume. What does that tell you? It tells you the market's not going to fall very far, because if it was, this one should be taller and it isn't. That spread's narrow, and therefore it's not going to fall very far. And that's the analysis you are constantly doing. I'm learning Italian at the moment, 44 years too late, but there we go. Better late than never, as I always say. And it's very hard, because the instructor is an Italian native and he will speak relatively quickly, although slowly for us, learners and what have you. This is what you have to do. It makes your brain ache a bit doing this stuff, but this is what you have to do. If you want to get good at VPA, then go to fast charts. I said it this morning, go to a 15-second, 30-second, 1-minute chart, whatever it is, and really, really get good at reading charts quickly, because it will hone your skill and it will make your life an awful lot easier when you're looking at slower time frames, I can assure you. We started with paper charts because we didn't have all this stuff when we first started 25 years ago, and we had to do it really mechanically. It was quite tedious. Now you've got all this online stuff, very easy. Most charts are free. You can find all this stuff online and get a decent feed and do it for cheapest chips in terms of if you've got to lash out for a live feed. So there we are. I wanted to leave you with that thought. This is where you'll find the indicators: quantumtrading.com, MT45, NinjaTrader 78, TradingView, and TradeStation. If you've ever bought an indicator from us in the past, we will have you on the system somewhere in the past 10, 11, 12 years now. If you want to upgrade to a package, if you want to come on to one of the education programs, the Forex program or the stock program when it launches very soon, you will get full credit for that. We always work that way. It's just the way we always have done. And remember, if you invest in a full package with us, you get all these new indicators we develop free of charge. So people who've been with us 5, 6, 7, 8 years, they've had a whole host of indicators, all free, never paid for another thing on the license. And it's for life, of course, as well. This is Quantum Trading Education, where we find the stock program in due course. This is the Forex program, and we've got the funded program, which we're broadening out for our students. That's been very successful. You trade our money, so you don't have to trade your money. There's no risk to you at all. It goes up to 2 million. And we're now bolting in some other levels at the starting point. So you can now start with, be rolling out in the next couple of weeks, 1, 2.5, and 5, 10, 15, and 20,000. So we've added one at the top, which is 20,000. And we've added 1 and 2.5 at the bottom to really make it broad. We've simplified all the rules down, made it much, much easier. The other nice thing also is you can now trade pretty much any market. We've got cryptos in there. You can trade pretty much indices across the world. Whole range of indices are covered, not just US indices. So we've pulled in, I think there's about 20 indices in there. You can trade all the currencies, 28 currency pairs, or the majors and the 28. and you can also trade the commodities as well. Gold, silver, oil, I think 3, and there's another one as well, 4. But that's all at that level now, which is great. So at the evaluation stage, you can do all of that. Finally, just onto Anna's site. This is where you'll find all her analysis down on the left-hand side here with the latest blog posts. She's got a huge following on Twitter. Very, very responsive and interactive. So if you're following her there, you'll find a whole host of things, and also obviously everything that Anna puts out there as well. All the books up on Amazon. Hugely humbling to see the comments that come in on Amazon from traders who've discovered volume price analysis, and they've just bolted it into whatever it is they're doing. It's like they found the key to unlock the problems that they were having. They're kind of there or thereabouts, but they just can't find that piece of the puzzle that makes it all come together. And it is normally volume. And the beauty of volume is they don't have to change their methodology. They just sit it underneath and they add it into whatever it is they're doing. So you'll find everything there and all the links to the other sites as well. So I hope you've enjoyed today's session. We will be back next week with some more. Oh, sorry, was there a question? Right. Oh, Roberto. Yes, indeed. Italian. Yes, I am learning. Let me just see what. Sorry? Yeah, I've been with you since June. Excellent as purchased. All right. I've never found such a fully with interest. Thank you so much, Roberto. That's much appreciated. That's very kind of you. And we hope you enjoy the program. And any questions, you can always reach out to us through the VPA forum. So we're always there or thereabouts. A little bit quiet at the moment, but it will get busier, I can assure you. Or you can drop us an email, anna@annacooling.com, or you can get hold of me at quantumdavid@quantumtrading.com to ask me anything there. And you've got the private messaging also on the VPA chat room if it's private, but generally we like to have the questions in the room so other students can see them as well. So thank you so much. Thank you so much for coming along today. Hope you've enjoyed everything. Hope you found it useful. Hopefully you maybe learned something you didn't know before. We will be back next week. Not sure when, probably the same sort of time, and with a couple of webinars on the Wednesday. So enjoy the rest of the session. If you're in the US, have a great Thanksgiving holiday. Enjoy, and then it's Black Friday on Friday. So I suspect everyone will be having a wonderful time and probably a 4 or 5 day weekend. So it may be quite quiet on Friday as well. We will see. So see you soon. Thanks so much for coming along, and bye for now.